welcome back. And we are continuing our show with what we promised earlier. We're going to be talking about 2012. Joining us this morning is Dr. Mark Van Stone, a Maya expert, and of course Dr. Jaime Awe, director of the Belize Institute of Archaeology. Gentlemen, you come to bring us some very interesting facts, I'm sure.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Good morning. Now, 2012, I think at the beginning of this year, a lot of people obviously have been talking about this for some time. Dr. Awe, we had you when the movie first came out, 2012, to be able to talk about this further. But we know the amount of information that has come up and the amount of people who talk about it has just increased as the time got nearer. So to start off the conversation, let's talk about where this idea, this concept of the prophecy of 2012 first came about, or where it stems from.
It stems from a coincidence. The date of the creation of this world on Maya inscriptions is written in the Maya long count calendar as 130000, and 13000 is about 5,025 years. And the date of creation for the Maya was in 3114 BC, and guess what? That was 25 years ago. And so at that time, the Maya calendar, the long count calendar, reset like a clock at midnight. Mm-hmm. And it went from 13000 to 00001, and has been adding up ever since. And now we're in the year 121919 something, mm-hmm. about to be 13000 again. Mm-hmm. And that's what that date in December 2012 will be, is 1300. And because of that, some archaeologists speculated 50 years ago that there would be a time of renewal, or the Maya predicted a recreation of the world. Mm-hmm. And then it was discovered by non-scholars who took it and ran with it, and they've connected it with Planet X and with the age of Aquarius and everything.
Mm.
Now, obviously, the whole end of the world is something that fascinates people, whether it's movie magic or just a part of the human psyche. In terms of the Maya's interpretation of that, why was there this concept in the first place of the ending of time?
Let me add something, Mark, and then you can fill in there. Many of us think that this sense of apocalypse, that the end of the world is nigh, is something that we have inherited from Western culture. Maya culture is anything but Western. It certainly didn't share the same concepts like Europeans. But for Europeans, in the Bible, etc., it says, God will come back and, destroy the world, etc., so you better repent now or forever. Well, the Maya time was cyclical. And so for them, this is the completion of a great cycle, and it's going to be the start of a second, or not a second, but another cycle.
Yeah.
Sure. And I've forgotten your question.
It's why apocalypse? Why do
we have that?
Why do people believe it to be?
I think what Dr. Awe said is correct. We Westerners have this whole chapter of the Bible called apocalypse, and it's a very Western concept. And they did have cycles, although I think that the ecology of this part of the world is more fragile than Europe, and they had collapses that were apocalyptic. There was one in 900 BC, there was another one in 400 BC, there was another one in 900 AD, and the idea that a whole area would be depopulated was something that was very real to them.
Yeah.
And I think that the sense of cyclical time to them, that cyclical destructions, was a memory of these historical collapses.
Yeah. I saw the funniest cartoon of talking about the 2012, and it had a guy with a calendar who obviously was presenting it to the king. I'm sure you've seen it, where he says, okay, I only found space to go to 2012, and then I guess the king, I'm guessing who it is, says, that's going to freak somebody out someday.
That's right.
And
thank you, Dan Perello.
how accurate is it? Just a matter of space, or just that's as far as they decided to go with the calendar? There was no real prediction that came along with it?
There was no prediction. There's two things I want to point. There is one prediction that comes from, here's a cover of my book, with the the actual inscription from Tortuguero from about the year 669 that talks about the end of the 13th Baktun, which is going to come up, and they give the date for How 3 Kankin, which is the actual 2012 date. It's December in 2012. And it says on this date, unfortunately, this is where the text breaks off, which is what we call Murphy's Law of Epigraphy, that we have a hard time reading it. But it does seem to say that Bolonyokte, who's a minor god, will come back to Earth and put on a costume. It says he's going to get dressed. And that's all it says.
Yeah.
This means little to an ordinary person, but what it means is that people, what should I say, the rulers of these cities put on costumes all the time to channel the gods. And so that's basically saying that there will be a ceremony.
Now, does this cause part of the confusion when something is missing and we make an inference as to what it means? There may be different interpretations that come along with it?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
There have been several interpretations just in the past couple of years. But in fact, most of the 2012 brouhaha comes from things that happened before this was discovered, before this was known to the general public.
So this is the only actual mention of 2012?
The only actual mention.
Now, it's ironic to a large degree that the Mayas were seen as uncivilized and not able to do this kind of projection and thinking and all of that. And of course, that has been changing. Why the prominence now of that prediction, or in terms of the cyclical construct of time?
Again, I think it goes back to the situation where we, meaning non-Maya cultures, tried to impose our way of thinking, of looking at life, looking at the future. Because certainly I don't think the ancient Maya did in the past like the modern Maya do today. But I think we can add something else that we haven't mentioned, but goes along with the two questions that you both asked a little while ago about predictions. Well, as Mark said, there's only one mention of the year 2012 in all the ancient Maya inscriptions that have been discovered. If it was going to be such a great deal, it would have been written all over the place.
Yeah.
But another point that's very interesting for us is that there is a monument, for instance, at the site of Palenque that makes reference to a date even beyond 2012. I think it's
4772.
Yes. So again, the fact that there's another inscription saying, something else is going to happen at 4772 means that even the ancient Maya realized it's going to continue. That after 2012, life will continue.